I'm John Colson from Regions Bank. Yeah, there's a small disclaimer up here we'll have you guys read for just a second. Okay. Um, I'm the branch manager at the Pendleton Pike Regions Bank, about 5-10 minutes from here. Before banking, I was in retail. I've helped run a small business, done territory sales as well. So I've been on both sides of the fence when it comes to managing and when it comes to small business. Thank you for choosing to spend your valuable time with me, learning about protecting our business. Before I start, we introduced ourselves. How many people here are managing a facility of any kind? So we've got most of us, okay. So we're not running our own small business, but we're definitely in charge of a portion of a business. I am too, so I consider myself a small business owner because what happens in that branch ultimately comes down on me. It's my responsibility. So if there's fraud someplace and John Colson's name is on it, that's not a good thing. So I want to make sure that I know what's going on. This is going to be interactive, kind of informal. If you guys have any questions along the way, please feel free to speak up, and we can go through everything we need. I do have notes I'm going to be looking at from time to time because some of this information is specific. So if you see me looking down, I'm just making sure I stay on track and keep you guys at a half an hour or so. Being here today shows that we care about protecting our business, and we're taking an important step forward. Today we're going to focus on two big questions, basically. What are the ways fraud can impact our business, and how can we protect ourselves from fraud? So running a business, managing a business takes sacrifice, takes a lot of time. When we're doing it on our own, it takes money, it takes long hours, talent, and drive. The last thing that we want is someone stealing from us, whether they're stealing from a business that I own or a business that I'm running. There are a few different types of fraud that we're going to talk about today. The best thing for us to know is to be prepared, is to know what kind of fraud is out there, and how to fight against it. So we're a small group here. I'll make it a little more interactive. What's fraud to you guys? What would you consider fraud? Here we're thinking fraud is more theft. So fraud can be lying about who I am, can be doing whatever, but here, we're talking about fraud as, people taking from my business, taking from me specifically. So we're going to look at a couple of different subjects here. Cyber thieves basically steal money directly from accounts. Employees can steal money. Customers write back checks sometimes. How many people in here have ever been a victim of any kind of fraud? Fraud being somebody gets your debit card, that type of thing. Yeah, about half. And that's about right. Usually that's the case. So what if I told you at least half, there's a 50% chance that you'd be a victim of fraud? Obviously we know that because we just said so. We may think we're protecting ourselves, but sometimes we're not. Every year, the Association for Financial Professionals conducts an annual payment and control survey. And as you can see over here, in 2016, 74% of survey participants reported that their organizations were exposed to fraud or actually had fraud take place in their business. And it happens to every size company, small, medium, and large. And there's an impact on the bottom line. The Association of Certified Fraud Examiners in 2014 conducted a survey and found that the median loss in fraud was $145,000. That's about 5% of revenue annually. So I wouldn't want to take a 5% pay cut for somebody else doing something. So it's important. It makes a big difference. And whether we're paying for it out of our own pockets, running a business, or our business is paying for it, somewhere, I promise you, it's impacting all of us, all of our wallets at some point. The two areas we're going to talk about today where fraud most commonly occurs are check fraud and dishonest employees. The volume of checks, how many people still write checks here and there? Some here, not that many at all. Yeah, I write checks to the Girl Scouts, to my kids every once in a while, and to the school, and that's about it. We're seeing that actually the amount of checks going out has been lower, but the fraud on checks has been higher. Yeah, and if you reach in to your wallet, if anybody has their wallet with them, and pull out your card, go ahead and look real quick at your actual card that's in your wallet. You're going to see this little chip here, right? That chip works. Since I've been in banking, the chip came out and people really started using it. I really don't see a lot of point of sale fraud anymore. No one's making these cards in their garage and swiping them at Walmart and buying stuff. Everybody hated the chip when it first came out. And some of you were smiling at me. I mean, it was a pain for a minute, but it really prevented a lot of fraud. So what did we do? What did the cyber thieves do? What did the criminals do? They kind of went back to doing it the old-fashioned way, and that's with checks. So we actually are seeing check fraud on the rise. The other type of fraud we're going to talk about is internal fraud. We're going to refer to it as bookkeeper fraud, and that's basically one of our employees doing something they shouldn't be doing. It actually goes undetected, bookkeeper fraud, for an average, not up to, but for an average of 18 months before it's detected. So if you can imagine, you're losing money for 18 months before you find out about it. And whether it's my business or my boss's business, someone's going to be mad if I'm running that place and someone's been taking money out of it for 18 months. So it's important that I know what's going on. Does that all make sense so far? Okay. Now, we do have our handouts. I want to take a look at that real quick. If you could flip to the back page here with the questions. I'm not going to read them word for word, but basically it covers funds being transferred securely. That means when money goes out of my account, my business's account, is it secure? Is the medium by which it's going through secure? Am I losing revenue to fraud? Company information, is that being protected? How are we doing with emails? We'll talk about that. What are some of the latest trends? Are our vendors legitimate, people that we're dealing with? What's their system to prevent fraud? And are internal controls strong enough? So these are just questions to ask ourselves, kind of going through. How many people here have ever thought about these things? I mean, I have. I mean, these are pretty good questions to ask ourselves. So, that's going to be a good reference for us. It's hard to imagine an employee stealing from us, especially when we feel like we've earned their trust, they've earned our trust, but it does happen. And studies show that small organizations are hit hardest, and that we only recover funds about half the time. So again, if my company's losing revenue, it's going to impact me. Smaller businesses are impacted more often because there are a few anti-fraud controls. They might be more likely to give one employee full authority, and employees can use other types of fraud when it's a smaller organization. Now, who's going to commit this type of fraud? Where does it come from? What kind of individual should be watching out for? Someone with, well, who can give me some ideas? If I'm running the cafeteria, if I'm running the branch, if I'm running whatever it is, who am I worried about? Who's going to steal from me? What are some things to look out for? What would I think of? Like I would think of somebody maybe who has some financial pressure, someone who's talking about, I get paid enough to do this, I'm having trouble paying my bills, that type of thing. We want to watch for people that have the opportunity, the control person. Everybody has a Bob at their office, or a Sue, or somebody that you go to, or Linda, for stuff, who knows what's going on. We want to make sure we're taking care of that person. And there's always a rationalization, I'll pay it back later, it's not my fault, they don't pay me enough, that type of thing. And studies show that 87% of internal fraud, 87% is committed by somebody who has never been in trouble with the law before. So they're not conspicuous. We're not going to know who it is. I have an example I'm going to read from. I'll just read it to you guys. It's going to be up here on the board. Sometimes these examples seem a little obvious to us when we're reading them, but when you're in the situation yourself, it's never so obvious. So our case study is Joe. We're going to meet Joe. Joe is 40. He's a bookkeeper for a real estate company. He's worked there for 10 years and has sole responsibility for company finances, including payroll. If you need a check for something, go to Joe. He is a hard worker and never takes a vacation and feels no need for an assistant. He is so committed to his job that he often spends his lunch hours negotiating with new and existing vendors. Joe has often complained that he does not make enough money and may have to pull his daughter out of private school. He recently threw a big party for the boss at his large house in a gated community, and some of the managers began wondering how can he afford such a lavish lifestyle. An investigation revealed that Joe had stolen over $50,000 to pay his creditors and give himself a raise. So based on what we just talked about, what are some red flags about Joe when we look at this case study? What do we see that maybe makes us concerned? Who doesn't take a vacation? No vacations. I like my job, but I promise you I'm going to take all my vacation time this year. That's going to happen. What's one more thing that we could think of that we saw that may not be a good thing about this?
Like monitoring
Private school for his daughter. May have to go to public school. My goodness. No monitoring. That's another one that we saw. Absolutely. So he's living beyond his means. He's unusually close with his vendors. Doesn't want to take a vacation. Doesn't want an assistant. Doesn't want anybody looking at his day planner. That's probably a red flag. I keep my information on the computer. I'm an open book. This is what I did today. If someone's really, hey, that's my system, I don't want you looking at it, don't want you knowing my business, that type of thing, that's a cause for concern. And then obviously, not having anybody watching Joe, that can be an issue. So, some best practices to prevent bookkeeper fraud. Never sign a blank check. Obviously, that sounds pretty obvious, but if we get busy, has anybody here ever once signed something they weren't 100% sure about at their workplace? Little show of hands. It happens, right? We have to be really careful. Am I signing employee attendance policy or am I signing a check? Be careful about what kind of information you're looking at. We have a thing at the bank called dual control. It's a really, really big thing, and I've seen some nods. Basically, what it means is more than one person has to do this. There are a lot of things in the bank as the manager I can't wave a magic wand and do. I need another person who has a key, who can get into this process, who can put their numbers in and verify what I'm doing. Dual control is a huge theft deterrent because now I need more than one person. Joe can't do it on his own. And this example, dual control, would have really helped prevent Joe from being able to do this. Make sure everybody's aware of your internal controls. In financial reporting, there were no internal controls here, so Joe was able to steal $50,000. Restrict access. There are some times when we can let an employee see the books, but not necessarily have access to controlling the books. So I may have somebody looking over my information, but it doesn't mean they can go write checks. So we want to make sure that the only people who really have access to financial means to payments are people who absolutely have to. Does that make sense so far? Okay. Another thing is make sure that your vendors are legitimate, first of all, and make sure that you know what they're doing with your information. We see at the bank, sometimes we'll see check fraud, and it's someone, I paid, this is a true story, I paid my vendor, it sat in the mailbox on Route 300 North South West Street for 3 days before they got to it. Well, somebody got in and got to the check, put a 1 in front of the 800 and made it 1,800 and went and tried to cash it. We got it, we fixed it. Actually, I think it was 1,000. They had a zero as well, because why not? We got it, but the check had been sitting there. How long was the check sitting in the mailbox? How long was the check sitting on Joe's desk? How long does it take to clear? We want to know these things about our vendors, and obviously make sure that we know that they're legitimate. Okay, so now we're going to flip the handout over for a second. Again, there's a lot of color here. I know there's a lot going on, but just bear with me for just a minute. The top part talks about checklists for best practices. Basically, this is payments. The big stop sign here, if you think there's a problem, put a stop payment on a check, stop an ACH payment, make sure you're proactive about that. Convert things electronically as often as you can. I know we're all kind of used to that at this point with the electronic stuff with our phone apps and things like that, but it really makes a big difference. The less checks out there, the better. I really don't want my account number, my routing number out there in the world. I want that as little as possible. Secure your checks, because protections for the business consumer and the private consumer are different at a bank. If I leave my checks out, my company checks out all day on my desk, the bank's going to want to know about that. That's a little different scenario. So make sure the checks that we do have are locked up in a secure environment. Anybody have any questions about that? Any experience with that? Anybody ever lost a check? Yeah, not.
I was living in an apartment complex for many, many, many years, and they contacted me to say that they had not gotten my rent check.
Oh.
And so people were stealing the rent checks, and so I produced my copy of the check for the apartment folks.
Wow. So how did it end up?
They sort of gave me a little bit of a hard time.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
I was kind of surprised. I'm like, this is my copy.
Right.
And
But the copy doesn't do you a whole lot of good if they don't have money in their account. So that's an instance where that really is very, very difficult.
We did have a situation in another apartment complex where people were breaking into the Dropbox.
Wow.
That complex requires money orders,
Mm-hmm.
not checks.
We do see that a lot.
So
We do see
money
that a lot.
orders are cash, and they were taking rent checks out of that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, checks are easy to reproduce. I can go to Staples and buy a check thing. I really can, and I can even if I'm not really good at it, I can kind of eyeball it, put it in there. I can mobile deposit stuff now. So there's a lot of different things that people can do to checks to make them vehicles for stealing from us. So electronic payments are always a good alternative. Does anybody have any final thoughts on checks before we move on? Make sense? We're all good? Okay. Now we're going to talk about cyber attacks. Show of hands, who's heard of a cyber attack recently? Anywhere? Right, yeah. Anthem was the old one. What is it? Not TransUnion, the credit company that got hacked. Was it? Equifax is the one. Yeah. Most people have been looked at some point here and there. Our information's out there. So cyber attacks are a scary thing. They're performed by thieves who steal online login credentials from users. They get account balances. Why would a business account be a bigger target than a personal account? Why would you steal from John Colson Inc. versus John Colson? What does the company have that I don't? What does the company have more of than I don't? More money. Yeah, they have a lot more money than I do in most cases. They have access to other people's information. They have employee files. If they're direct depositing, they probably have account numbers. We have clients. We have vendors. A lot of other things in there that the computer has access to other than just me and my mortgage and my checking account. So we do see that businesses are targeted more often. So where is this coming from? Well, it can be right next door, it can be in Ohio, or it could be in the Ukraine someplace. We're seeing a lot of activity overseas now. And if I only get it back 50% of the time, what do you think those odds are when it goes from New Jersey to New Guinea? Goes down a little bit, I would think. How am I going to find somebody? I have a hard time finding them here in Marion County. Imagine if they're in the Ukraine someplace. It's a lot more difficult. So really, it can come from anywhere in the world. A lot of the software is produced overseas. We call it malware. And then it's sold on the dark web, black market, whatever you want to call it, internationally. And it really doesn't matter where you are. You have access to this stuff. We'll skip the video. There we go. So what are some things that we do? What are some things that thieves will do to get access to our information? Well, phishing emails are a big thing. Who remembers phishing phone calls? Remember that was a thing? If you went to a seminar, they talk about how people are calling in and pretending to be somebody else and getting information, and they would have contests who could get there the fastest, who could get to the president of GE, and people knew it. The people would do it. Now they're phishing emails. And we're all busy with emails, whether I get 100 emails and I'm at my desk all day, or I get 10 emails and I'm in the field all day and I only get 10 minutes to look at those emails. Emails are pretty rushed. We go through them quickly. It's easy for someone to put something in there that instills a sense of urgency in me. It makes me think I have to open this right away. UPS telling me you have a package, could be a tax thing. My favorite, your manager's reports are due. You're behind on your reports and your manager needs you to click here right away. I was with the company for a week and a half and I got that email. It was a test email the bank sent out. I clicked it. Oh my goodness, what's it? And boom, I got hit. So it's going to look like something legitimate. So we have to be really, really careful with that. Obviously, search engines, banner ads, social networking is another way that we can get hurt. People probe for vulnerable machines. My virus software is not up to date, that type of thing. So, I mean, how many people here have received email messages that looked like they were suspicious? I mean, most people. Sometimes even from your friends. My email got hacked and I was sending weight loss cures and potions and lotions to all my friends, and somebody finally said, you know what, this doesn't sound like you, it's hair care product, your hair looks great, but I don't think you need that much stuff here, so there must be something else going on, and I figured it out. But it does happen, so we have to be careful with it. I'm going to go through a quick example of how it can happen now. I'm going to kind of go through these slides a little bit more quickly, kind of get a big picture of what I'm looking at right now, because I don't want you guys to get too caught up in the weeds. This is kind of an example of how cyber attacks are carried out. So how does it happen? A rootkit is installed. A rootkit basically is the software that makes all of it happen. So somehow the thieves get by us, opening an email, whatever it is, the rootkit is installed when we hit that link that we shouldn't have hit. Okay. It embeds itself in the operating system. It'll let the master system know that it's there and that it's ready to work. It'll disable our antivirus software, so I don't even know it's there. First thing it does is take down the defenses, right? That makes sense, so that doesn't come up and let us know that it's happening. Then in the background, it waits for the client to log on to a business site. The thief receives an instant message letting them know that you're now getting into your bank account. When we enter our login credentials, then the thief gets them. Sometimes even from the little token, if you guys have ever seen those at the bank, they give you a little, like a key fob for your car that gives you a random PIN number. They can get access to that. They may even get the challenge questions. If you guys have done online banking, they'll ask, what's your favorite pet? You know, where'd you go to school? Favorite author of a book, whatever. Things no one else would know. Well, when they get access to that, they can see it and they know all that information. So the things that we think are secure aren't necessarily secure. They'll actually even put up a wall on my user screen that says the system is down, that type of thing. And then they'll go and do what they do. They may let you know the system is down, wait for you to log on again, and in that time, they're still using your credentials and conducting transactions without your knowledge. Some of these little key fob things expire in 60 seconds. They may only have 60 seconds, but if I know what I'm doing, you work for the police department, what can somebody do in 60 seconds? A lot. A lot, yes. They have to act quickly, but there's a lot of stuff that they can do in 60 seconds. Even when the little security token is used, we can disable the first transaction, wait for them to log on again, and that can be my dual control verification. There's a lot of funny things that they do. You know, banks work hard to prevent this because ultimately we end up eating a lot of the theft, so we don't want it to happen. But it is something that we do see, so it's really important that we protect our account information and we're mindful of what we're doing with emails. Dual control is another way. When you have two people doing it, you can make sure, hey, that looks a little funny to me. Get out, log off, you know, do whatever we need to do, talk to the bank. That's going to be a lot more helpful than anything else we do, just having somebody else there. And we have an example here. This is a real example, by the way, what I'm about to read to you. A recent cyber attack involved a title escrow company who declined to implement dual control because they didn't have two people in the office all the time. A cyber thief was able to steal login credentials and steal $440,000 and wire transfer it out in one transaction. That's real. Our example, Joe got $50,000 for $10. They got $440,000 real ones. So it happens, and they zinged it out. It's a title company. They're used to seeing wire transfers. They had access to wire transferring. Didn't feel like putting another person in there. It was a lot of work, whatever. It's gone. And that's your closing money. I mean, title stuff is a big deal. So it's really important to make sure that we know what's going on. Sometimes we'll even use a third party. They call it a money mule, but basically it's someone who may not know. They think it's okay to go ahead and accept this in their personal account, send most of it out and keep a little for themselves, that type of thing. It seems silly to us, but there are creative ways that people are making these interactions appear to be legitimate. So what are some best practices? Again, let's go to our handout. The bottom half now, we're looking at dual control. Make sure you're in a secure environment. I'm talking about a cyber secure environment. Make sure you know what's going on with that. Use stronger passwords. Don't click on links that look suspicious. We even have resources on the bottom right here. There's a government website you can go to, and then there's our website as well. But there are things you can do pretty quickly even now to make our passwords a little more secure. Put a capital letter somewhere in the middle of the word where you wouldn't expect it. Special characters are good, mixed numbers and letters, that type of thing. There are a lot of things that we can do to make sure that we're more advanced and we're more prepared. So what can we do in the next 24 hours? Of the things we've talked about, what are some things we could do that would make our accounts, our business accounts more secure, even our personal accounts more secure? Change passwords. If my parents were in charge of the nukes, I could get to them because I know what their code is, because it's the same one we've had since we lived on Romley Road in Pittsburgh when I was 4. So that's an example of one you might want to change. They don't listen to me, it is what it is. But you want to go through, change some of your passwords, don't use the same password for every vendor, that type of thing. It gets confusing, but boy, if they get one, they get the whole thing. So that's a thing we can do. There are other things on the list here that we can do. We're all in this together. Banks, consumers, businesses, we're fighting the same fight because ultimately we all pay for it. Even when the bank pays for it, when the banks lose money, I promise you we all lose money. It's not good. We're not stealing from the 1% like we think we are. We all end up paying for it at some level somewhere. So thank you very much. We've taken a big step today in learning more about small business fraud and basically personal fraud and what we can do to protect ourselves. We learned about the ways fraud can happen, how we can protect ourselves from it. What questions do we have at this point? Any final thoughts? Make sense? Everybody still awake? We're good? Looks like we are, so we've got that going for us. So we appreciate that. This concludes our formal presentation. If you guys have anything you want to talk about afterwards, I'm here. My information is on the handout. You guys have my cards back there as well. We're here because we want to be trusted advisors. You can get a checking account any place. Region specifically is here because we want to be the people you come to when you have an issue with fraud, when you have an issue with mortgage, when you're not sure what to do. Our difference is us. We have websites, we have 800 numbers, we have apps, but we have people. And we want to know you before we do anything else. Does that make sense? Okay. Well, there are some additional resources up here. You guys have everything you need in the handout, but you can go to regions.com, call 1-800-REGIONS. Our website, even if you're not a member, if you don't log in, has a lot of different articles about fraud, about mortgage, and if I have an extra $3,000, should I put it in the savings account? Should I invest it? Should I put more money towards my car payment? Whatever. So we have a lot of resources. It's a lot. And it's really helpful. Even if you don't bank with Regions, you can go in there and play with it. My wife has banked with Regions for the last 10 years. She didn't know it was there. So I showed her some stuff. So there's a lot of stuff we can look at. Okay. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.